And when we talk about our program that we do, we're not just about skills development. We're here to basically help and usher in transformation across industries. We want to work with the progressive people in these various different industries and sectors. So if Nepal wants to continue to be part of this age of transformation and changes that are taking place across industries to become more productive and become more efficient, digitization is here to stay. And if Nepal doesn't take on the global imperatives of digitization is starting to take shape. Look at countries across the border, whether it is Bangladesh, whether it is India or others. Janice had partnered with one of the largest global multinationals in the world called Amazon, which has for the first time come up with what is called an Amazon Web Solutions Educate program, primarily aimed at preparing students to be ready for job roles that are the roles that are in demand in the industry. So this in large part was impelling a lot of the skilled people, to migrate to developed countries because they didn't see an opportunity, they didn't see a future. And the industries in Nepal were not ready to even take on some of the more skilled people that were coming out of colleges. Now, as you probably know, we've had several issues. I mean, it's not typical to Nepal, but a lot of countries in South Asia, where when we started this program, we saw a lot of interesting trends in Nepal. And there were several. One of them was that we saw that a large number of people were leaving school. Students were leaving school without completing secondary education.
So welcome, namaste. We are here, our team is here from Living with ICT, Prajwal Nepali and Sneha Jha is with us today. They are both representing ICT Samachar and Living with ICT both. So ICT, Living with ICT is basically an IT media which provides information that is related to technology, the development practices and its scope in general. So we have been serving in this field in the field of IT since past 10 years, and definitely is one of the leading IT media of Nepal. So in today's point, we have been striking in two forms. One is printing and the second one is online. As in printing, we have been publishing monthly magazine in the name of Living with ICT magazine. And as online, we are here as a tech-based news portal named ICT Samachar. So beside that, we have different programs and initiatives that we have been doing and contributing to. So yes, without any further ado, I would like to introduce Prajwal and would like to hand over the floor to Prajwal. Over to you, Prajwal.
Namaskar and good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you to each and every one of you for being here with us tonight. We are very pleased to be able to welcome here in our segment ICT Talk. So before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who are here with us tonight and for your time as well. And in today's segment, I'm going to take the interview, but before that, I would like to speak something about SIP. So what actually SIP is. So the UKAID funded 4-year Skills for Employment SIP program supports the generation of new employment by working with government, employers in the private sector, training and education institutions, and youth to carry out the innovative employment interventions, including skills training and job placement, which provides higher wages for individuals and increases the productivity of firms in the growth sectors. The program is strongly aligned with the government of Nepal's policy to create domestic employment, unveiled recently as part of joint collaborative effort between the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Labor, Employment and Social Security. SIP builds on FCDO's commitment to Nepal's political and economic transformation, including support for federalism, transformational growth, and constitutional rights with the power to leave no one behind. So tonight we have Mr. Baljit Vohra, who is team leader of UKAID SIP program. Welcome, sir, in our segment ICT Talk.
Thank you very much for having me.
So moving on, I have got some questions to interrogate to you, sir. So shall I start?
Sure, please.
Okay, sir. So my first question to you is, what kind of project is SIP and what is it doing in Nepal?
Thanks very much, and thanks for the very interesting background introduction to SEEP. As you rightfully said, SEEP is a multi donor initiative. It's basically between the UK, the government of the United Kingdom, and the government of Nepal. As you rightfully said, is to really help transform the labor force in Nepal. Now, as you probably know, we've had several issues. I mean, it's not typical to Nepal, but a lot of countries in South Asia, where when we started this program, we saw a lot of interesting trends in Nepal. And there were several. One of them was that we saw that a large number of people were leaving school. Students were leaving school without completing secondary education. We also saw that the tertiary education system in Nepal was poorly targeted, by employers. Employers were regarded the tertiary education system as being one that didn't meet the requirements of what companies and the workforce would look like in Nepal. And then we also saw a trend in Nepal, the slower job and wage growth, the labor demand in the more skilled industries in Nepal was not in step, with the skilled graduates that were being supplied coming through universities or coming through these vocational training institutions. So this in large part was impelling a lot of the skilled people, to migrate to developed countries because it didn't see an opportunity, they didn't see a future. And the industries in Nepal were not ready to even take on some of the more skilled people that were coming out of colleges. So we also saw that the Tibet system was in the country was not really helping bridge the skills gap and what companies really wanted. And this is an increasing scenario that we see across all the colleges and universities in Nepal, where the kind of students that are coming out of colleges are probably not in line with what the industry demands or what the companies really want. And it is in this context we started to look at ways in which we could make a difference by coming up with a way where we could collaborate with the private sector and the enterprise sector to really help create a demand for jobs and create a skilled workforce that would be ready to take on jobs that were in demand. And secondly, we also noted that the people that were really migrating for opportunities abroad were also people that were low skilled or semi-skilled at best. And these are people that were going on to other countries looking for employment in low-skilled jobs where the propensity to earn income or salary was a lot lower compared to the rest of the nationalities that were working in the region. And given the fact that, as you probably well know, that by the year 2025, over 67% of the Nepali population will be of working age, which means that you've got to be able to create opportunities for people to be able to be absorbed in the industries for tomorrow. And it is in this context that our program came into being, and we struck a collaboration with the government of Nepal to really do something different by creating an opportunities for jobs and creating an opportunity for employment in those sectors where there is going to be a demand in the coming years.
Yeah, actually, it's really sad to see the people who have the potential going to other countries to work, and it's even more sad when we see the people who have the potential do not get opportunities. So it's really nice to hear that SEEP is doing really great, and the one who has the potential, who deserve the designation that he or she can do, and the SEEP is providing the platform, and it's really nice to hear. So moving forward, I have got another question to you, and it is, what is the essence of Janus and UKHC partnership? How can this collaboration transform Nepal's education and employment?
Yeah, as I said in my opening remarks to you, I think the time has now come for us to begin to look at more on the demand side of where the jobs really are, right? I mean, if you look at the industries and the sectors in the Nepalese economy, I mean, if Nepal were to compete not only in the domestic stage but also in the international stage, it's going to be very difficult for Nepal to be able to compete on, say, light manufacturing or agribusiness for that matter. I think the area where we see a lot of scope for Nepal is in the area of services. And when we talk about services, ICT plays a very important role in the context of how we can help create an intellectual class of a labor force which is well adept with the needs of ICT. And if you look at the trends, that are happening around the world, we are moving more towards areas that are akin to, for example, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, These are the type of, cloud-based solutions and applications are where the future is. And it is in this context when Janice started to come into the country, given the fact it was led by a Nepalese born and a British national who really wanted to do something different in the country and help really transform an industry or a sector that was going nowhere. The ICT sector has basically been absolutely, I would say old school in Nepal, and not taking on the challenges of where the growth opportunities are, where the industry is moving. So it is in this context we saw that Janice had partnered with one of the largest global multinationals in the world called Amazon, which has for the first time come up with what is called an Amazon Web Solutions Educate program, primarily aimed at preparing students to be ready for job roles that are the roles that are in demand in the industry. So it's a corporate-led and enterprise-led initiative where it's not the schools or the universities that are driving what is required out of students, but it is more the marketplace. It's more the demand which drives in terms of where the skills ought to be. And in Janice, we saw this unique opportunity for us to come in and begin to help transform the way education is undertaken, especially in the ICT space, where working along with a large corporate that has an education program that is linked towards job creation and bring these new ways of creating opportunities in education, working alongside universities. And we felt that Janice would be the one that would help us bring in this paradigm shift, this change that we wanted to see in colleges in Nepal, because the colleges in Nepal were traditionally following traditional basis for education, the pedagogy, the way of delivery of training, the way of delivery of programs, the curriculum was completely outdated. So in order for us to be able to help change this, we thought that Janice would be probably one of the best partners we could bring in, given the fact that it was bringing in a company that is global and the company that is really transforming the world when it comes to ICT. And that's the reason and the basis for our partnership with Janice.
Exactly. And being a Nepali, I feel really proud that you guys have been collaborating with a Nepali company. And it seems that in the coming future, many of the youth will be getting many opportunities that might be in context of job, in context of knowledge, in context of informations. And I think that a new platform is about to be generated. So thank you to you and to all the team who have been doing all these efforts. So moving on, how do you see digital transformation affecting Nepal's economy, and how should skilling align with that?
Very good question. Increasingly around the world, digitization is becoming the true essence of how we, operate in the future. So digitization is something that is occurring across all industries. Whether you talk about travel or hospitality, you talk about financial services, you talk about manufacturing, you talk about construction, you talk about wholesale retail, you talk about agriculture. All these sectors are looking at ways in which they can become a lot more productive, a lot more efficient, use information as a way to help leapfrog the way the sector operates. As you see, gone are the days when we used to go to a travel agent and get our bookings done, right? A lot of us are now doing our travel and booking online. Gone are the days when we used to go to a physical branch location and do our banking with a teller. There are people migrating to online banking. We have mobile wallets. We have mobile work for financial services solutions. We have people remitting money overseas using technology as an enabler. Similarly, in the area of manufacturing, the advent of robots, the advent of augmented reality, the advent of ways in which you basically help refine the way you sell, refine the way you market your products is changing. Even in the construction industry, you're starting to see GPS-enabled tracking systems that basically help you track the efficiency of your construction equipment, how it's being deployed, where it is being used, how it's being used. Agriculture, you're basically using smart applications to be able to predict weather patterns. You're able to predict the soil content. You're able to predict what should be grown, when it should be grown, what should be the ideal composition of fertilizer to make things a lot more productive and efficient. So this is starting to happen across industries and sectors. And the trans and the and this and with the advent of the pandemic, the move towards digitization became a lot more magnified, given the sense that people were not able to operate the way they were operating. So if Nepal wants to continue to be part of this age of transformation and changes that are taking place across industries to become more productive and become more efficient, digitization is here to stay. And if Nepal doesn't take on the global imperatives of digitization is starting to take shape. Look at countries across the border, whether it is Bangladesh, whether it is India or others. There is a huge rush and who we move towards helping transform through digitization. So the time has now come. In order to be able to digitize, you need to be able to have the inherent skill set to be able to do digitization, how to really basically create applications, create web-based solutions, migrate towards cloud-based services, bring in AI as an enabler, because in agriculture, you're using a lot of artificial intelligence systems to be able to predict weather patterns, weather formation. So it is in this context, it is important that a new class of skilled professionals also emerge to be able to handle the needs of these industries that are changing. So that's why skilling becomes a lot more paramount in today's context.
Yeah, indeed, digitization has played a major role these days to make our life easier and convenient. And moreover, the companies like Genius and other companies have been playing a major role for the expansion of this digitization. And we really need to be thankful towards it, because digitization and its platform has been playing a major role during this global pandemic COVID-19. As we all are locked
Yes,
down in our homes, our life has become more easier. We are able to do our work from home. We are able to study. We are able to do every kinds of works through the platforms,
absolutely.
and that has been made easier by the digitization and its process. So thank you, sir. Thank you for these wonderful words. So moving on, how is launching AWS Cloud Academy course in collaboration with Janus and UKHC for the first time in Nepal? Why is this course necessary?
As you also rightfully said, and I said in my remarks, you look at the quality of education, right? In Nepal, and not just Nepal, but a lot of countries in our region. A lot of our curriculum that we are teaching in these universities hasn't changed as industries have changed, as economies have changed, as technology has become a huge, game changer in the context of our industries have moved forward. So if we continue to impart the same curriculum that's 20 to 30 to 40 years old to our students, our students are not going to be job ready. There's going to be an increasing amount of people entering the workforce without any opportunities, without any way for the future. So how do we really create a job ready workforce? This is an important challenge that we see. And given the specific aspect of this particular example, Janice, if you look at the ICT sector, I mean, the future of the ICT sector is not Fortran or COBOL or BASIC or Java. It's a lot more application based. It's a lot more cloud based. It's going to be a lot more AI based. So if you're going to be looking at where the future is, we got to make sure that we have the right type of content and the right type of curriculum, the right type of collaborations that are shaping or reshaping the world when it comes to ICT. And it's high time that we bring these collaborations into Nepal to be able to make our people, our students in Nepal that are as smart as anybody else in the world, to be able to partake in the best in education and be part of this workforce that is ready for the jobs of tomorrow. So this collaboration by bringing in Amazon's Cloud Academy in Nepal is the first. It's the first ever initiative that has ever been launched in really helping marketize education in the context of getting education to be able to take on and be relevant to what is required of a workforce going forward. So we're happy, that Amazon and Janice have looked at the Institute of Engineering as an ideal partner to come in and help transform its curriculum. So with a view towards basically making available those types of curricula that basically will enable these students that are coming out of colleges to be able to get a job upon getting out and be a more force for good in Nepalese society.
Yeah, exactly. I think that now the time has come that every students, every people need to realize and understand the value of cloud courses and its impacts, its advantages. As there are many kinds of advantages that this course contains, and I think the students must be, they must, dedicate themselves when they get this opportunity, when they get the chance to be one of the student of this cloud academy. So moving on, what tips would you give to the students to be future ready, not only to compete in Nepal, but in global job market?
Yeah, oh, again, a very good question. I think, as you rightfully in your question, you have alluded to the fact that we are no longer bounded by the landmass or the geography. We are part of a globalized world. Everything that happens around the world has an impact on what happens in Nepal. So we have to be ready and be part of this global world, and especially for the students, that are now coming out and have that passion to be part and to be relevant to the global job market. Look at the trends. We are entering into what is called the fourth industrial revolution. This is the fourth industrial revolution. Of course, we had the railroad revolution, the internet revolution, and all the different revolutions. But the fourth industrial revolution that is now upon us is influencing how economic and global economic and political arrangements in this post-pandemic future are going to be run. We are entering a stage where the world is going to be run by what is called big data. It's going to be run by artificial intelligence. It's going to be run by horizontal and vertical integration across industries and sectors. It's going to be run through cloud computing. It's going to be run through augmented reality, Internet of Things, 3D printing, autonomous robots, digital twins, cybersecurity. So these are the trends that are going to govern the way industries work, the nations operate, and how colleges and universities prepare their students to take on this new world order that is going to be dictated by this new industrial revolution. So I want Nepal students to be in the forefront of seeing these trends, seeing these changes. We are not sitting in isolation as a small geography by itself. We are part of this global age of change. So the more we as students look at these trends and start to capture ways in which we can be relevant, the more we will be a force for good, not for Nepal, but also for the global world that we are a part of.
Yeah, so it feels like the students of Nepal will be getting more chances, more opportunities in the coming future, as you already addressed about different kinds of ICT related things. And yeah, of course, if I think if the students of Nepal will understand its values, its norms, then of course they will be, they will be a part of nation's developmental. They will be one of the part of nation's development. They will be, of course, they will be able to develop the country in the right way, in the right form. And with a short span of time, everything will be possible. So moving on further, I have got now one last question to you. In terms of coronavirus pandemic and prolonged lockdown, do you have any special message or advice for long-term economic recovery based on the innovation that's coming through SIP's collaboration with various private and public sectors?
Absolutely. I mean, not only just SEEP's collaboration with the private sector, you're also starting to see, a dramatic shift in the way businesses are organizing themselves. Look at the advent of e-commerce, in the last, I would say, year or year and a half. Look at the dramatic jump and increase in the where e-commerce platforms, whether it is Sasto Deal or it is Daraj, or look at the advent of transportation logistics through Apaya City Cargo, which you never even heard of, a year ago or 2 years ago. But here's a solution that's coming into being. Look at the delivery of food services, the food mandus and the others of the world. So you're starting to see a lot of these new technology-enabled solutions that are coming in and disrupting these. What I call these are disruptors, disrupting the traditional ways in which industries have perform, how services have been delivered, how products have been made possible. So this disruption is here to stay. It's not just in this particular industry. You're going to see disruption in agriculture. You're going to see disruption in industry, and even disruption across construction. So in order for Nepal to be part and parcel and be productive going forward, and it needs to take a very hard look across all these industries. And when we talk about our program that we do, we're not just about skills development. We're here to basically help and usher in transformation across industries. We want to work with the progressive people in these various different industries and sectors to really define the pathway that the industries are taking in Nepal. How are they changing? Where do they ought to be competitively and comparatively, in a position to compete, not only just domestically, but also in the regional and international markets, and be able to create that opportunity for job creation. So it's in this context, we want to be part of this change process that companies are going through. There's also this talk about, and the announcement by the government of Nepal, which is called the Made in Nepal initiative. The Made in Nepal initiative is also not going to happen unless we structurally transform our sectors and industries. And there are the bad sides of this pandemic, that have really taken its toll, and we grieve for a lot of people, that lives that have been lost. But even in this pandemic lies an opportunity to really usher in, expedite that long due economic recovery that we need, and genuine structural change and transformation that we need to do across each of these industries. So let's take this as an opportunity to usher in that change that we require. It's already starting to happen. If we don't be a part and parcel of the change, we're going to be left behind. So my message basically to all that we work with is take this opportunity to take a hard look at the structure of industries and sectors that we operate in. Let's figure out ways in which we can help transform the way we deliver processes, the way we deliver product. It's already starting to happen in Nepal.
Okay, so I don't want to take much of your time, and that's all for tonight. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful words. And I would like to wish best wishes. I would like to say best wishes for your wonderful collaboration and for the upcoming venture. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And I also want to thank a platform like yours, which I think is very relevant. And we really appreciate what you do as a platform to really make people in Nepal be aware of how issues that we've discussed today will have a basis for change in the future. So thank you for what you do as an entity, as a group. And I wish you the very best. And I look forward to working with you to bring in that change that we need to see in the coming months and years from now on.